guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Remember when everyone was upset about NIL? You know what NIL did? Make sure Cooper Flagg wasn't playing with the G League Ignite. That's good for us. That's good for college basketball. When the best players are actually playing college basketball.
You're going to get battle tested. And it doesn't matter, Kevin, if you're on the home, at home or on the road. If you don't come ready to play in the SEC, you're going home with an L.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
He doesn't feel like he gets enough recognition for his achievements.
I'm on a really good team, and I'm like, I don't matter, but I'll have nights I'll have 21, 19, 18, because I don't matter. I would rather be on a team, a good team that wins, than care about myself. I mean, honestly, like, wouldn't you rather just play with dudes that are great and win?
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. The Eagles got it done. If you back them, you're celebrating. Football season may be over, but the action never stops.
Are you ready for some baseball?
At SportsGrid, we're always in the game. We bring you 24/7 betting insights, expert picks, and real-time analysis. Next big play is already in motion. Are you ready? It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
And welcome in. It's in-game live game day on a wild, wonderful Wednesday. Scott Wetzel and Mark Zinno sitting in for Mr. Sherapan tonight until 10 p.m. Eastern time as we watch and bet on the world of sports. Ah, yes, it's a beautiful thing. NBA, NHL, a little NHL anyway. College basketball really, along with the NBA taking center stage. Some crazy bad lines today. Things looking pretty good so far. We got Colby Dant joining us in about a half hour. Gilbert McGregor in about an hour. Our good buddy Cam Stewart. So an action-packed show along with Mr. Zinno. What's going on, Mark? How are you tonight?
Scott, great to be with you as always. We're already got some sweats going on from the early games. So looking forward to the rest of the college basketball slate tonight, even some interesting NBA games as well. So we'll be screaming here shortly, I have a feeling.
Yes, it wouldn't be a show without some screaming. That is for sure. I will say, NBA, we'll start there. I thought the over-under on the Boston Celtic line against Portland was just completely out of whack. It was only 224.5, depending on where you do your shopping. Portland's been playing great, 15-5 straight up their last 20 games. They've gotten themselves, believe it or not, back into the playoff picture, at least the play-in situation in the Western Conference, 16-5 against the spread. All leads to they're playing well, which leads to they're scoring points. We all know the Celtics can put 120, 130 on the board without a blink of an eye. And the number was 224.5. I just didn't get that at all. Right now, pretty good pace. We're looking good. Don't want to jinx it, but 62-55 with a minute left to go in the first half. And the over-under now is at 236.5. Any thoughts on Portland at Boston tonight?
I mean, I'm not in a position right now where I want to lay big numbers with the Celtics. I don't think they care. I don't think that they have one focus, winning another title. And that basically means that their only concern here is that just put themselves in position to be the number one seed in the East, or the number two seed for that matter, and everything's going to be fine for them. I don't think they're worried about Cleveland. For them, it just, once we get to the postseason, I'll start laying bigger numbers with the Celtics when the games matter for them because they'll play hard and they'll want to beat people soundly. And so, again, I mean, my strategy, a lot of Boston first halves, they're going to come out early and try to jump on you, get a big lead, take you out of the game early, and go down that road. But I at this point, again, if Boston's laying more than 6, I'm probably just looking in the other direction.
Yeah, they haven't been a great against the spread team all year anyway, to tell you the truth. But and they were laying 9.5 tonight which, in the end, maybe they cover, maybe they don't, but I just thought Portland, as well as they were playing, was going to score some points tonight, and I figured that would be a fun game. I'll tell you, you could almost say the same thing situation-wise, Mark, with Cleveland, except Cleveland is winning. I tell you, they're still covering the spread on a lot of these games. They were laying a big number tonight against Miami at home. Another over-under that was in the 220s that I thought was especially low for a Cleveland game. It's 58-43. They're up 15. 3.5 minutes left to go in the second quarter, and the line's now back up to 18. I tell you what, between OKC and Cleveland, they have run away from everyone in the standings, and they've run away from everyone against the spread as well with the boys in Vegas. They both, especially Cleveland, continue to cover the number. Wouldn't lay 18.5, but looks like they might cover the original number, which was right around 9.5, 10.
Yeah, again, I mean, with Oklahoma City and Cleveland, I mean, they approach every game as it matters, right? These are young teams that have something to prove. So they're a team that, these are teams that wins matter during the regular season. The Boston Celtics understand that it doesn't. And until you get to the top of the mountain, your mentality changes, right? They still have to chase and not be chased. So I think it's different betting those teams. Tonight, it feels like a big number to lay for the Thunder against the Grizzlies. I'm just like, wow, the Grizzlies are getting 9 points, but their defense has been god-awful as of late. And that's really what worries me. And you get this monster total at 252. I played the Grizzlies Hawks under the other night at 254 and was on the wrong side. So granted, it took some, season high performances from guys to be able to do it. But nonetheless, I don't know to tell you what state the Grizzlies defense is in.
Yeah, it's not good. And I tell you, Memphis, which has been generally good, real good against the spread, they've gotten into a funk, Mark, and I'm not going to bet on them until I get out. Same thing, though. You look at that number, 9.5. Wow. On the road, no less for OKC. But I'll tell you, Memphis, 2-6 straight up their last 8 games, 0-7-1 against the spread their last 8. They were nearly unbeatable at home for the first portion of the regular season, and now they've lost 3 straight outright. Forget about covering, outright at home. So until this team turns around, I don't know if I would lay the 9.5, except for a couple of shekels, but until Memphis turns things around, I'm not betting on them. I'll tell you that. The 250.5 is just nuts also. I mean, it may go over like the other one did, but how can you bet an over 250.5, right? I mean, that's just nuts.
You just need so many things to go right. 123-point quarter, and it basically kills it, right, by either team, unless somebody else is putting up 40, 40 plus. That's the only way it negates it. But you need, obviously, each team to be in the mid-30s, for the entire game to get to that 240-plus mark for each quarter. So one bad quarter could kill the whole thing, and you have to have so many things go right, and that's just kind of why I stay away from those spots.
Yeah. I mean, you start rattling off the scores that would be losers at 250.5, right? 130, 115, 125, 122. Imagine hearing a score 125, 122, and you lose on an over bet. I mean, 135, 115 is he's got to go under the 250.5.
Under a pass, you just need too many things to go your way, and it's just it's a tough ask. Like I said, when I talked about the Hawks and Grizzlies the other night, you had 4 different players either post a season total or something that they've only done once or twice the entire year. Zachary Ricochet had 27 points. He hadn't scored more than 20 except for 2 other games the entire year, and he dumps 27. And this is a game where Trae Young only scored 6 points, and John Morant was out, and they still scored 260 points in the game. So you needed some, unexpected numbers to come to fruition, and that's kind of just what you need in a situation like this.
Yeah. Great college basketball slate tonight. Right? You got all the SEC teams for the most part in action, all the prominent ones. You got some Big East battles. You got Marquette and UConn. That should be a lot of fun starting. You got right now Florida, Alabama, close game, 47-46. I see on my TV set early second half. Where were you looking some of your plays college basketball tonight?
I was dumb enough, and I say dumb enough because I think we were together the last time this happened. I was dumb enough to take Kansas State.
Kansas State?
Yeah.
I knew it.
I just absolutely this number opened at 9.5. In what world is Cincinnati supposed to be laying 9.5 points, especially in a game where the total sat around 132? You needed a 68-59 final for this thing to stay under. And if it goes over, it's because Kansas State is scoring. And that means that they're likely to stay within the number here. So it was just a simple math equation for me. And I stayed off it all day long. I stayed off it all day long, and I kept staring at the computer screen. And it was the worst thing I did was just stare at my computer screen, because eventually I just caved. I folded like a lawn chair, like a cheap suit, and backed Kansas State. And I hate myself for it, because they're down by 6 already here with 14:47 left in the second half. I mean, this, again, I'm watching Kansas State shoot from the field 33% and 20% from three. Of course, Cincinnati shooting 41%. I mean, look, these are two bad offenses, and I decided to get involved in a game where one team was laying 9.5 points.
I mean, it makes sense. I saw the, and I thought the same exact thing. I was saying it's amazing how gamblers all think alike, right? You get a low number on the over-under, and then you get almost double digits on the underdog, and it's like that's a natural play on the underdog, because the game should be in that 65-60 range, 70-65 maybe. Not 80-60 where the thing can get a blowout and you're going to cover the 9.5, 10 points. So kind of thought the same thing, but I didn't play it. I did play a little bit on the under.
Providence had a 10-point lead at half. They're now down by 4 to DePaul with 5:41 left.
Oh,
my God. Thank God I didn't lay the 7 with Providence. Whew.
Yeah, I don't lay points in the Big East. I just don't. All right, just underway, in-game live, game day on the grid.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start, so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Hour number one just getting underway. Me and Mark Zinno until 10 p.m. Eastern time, taking a peek at some college basketball here. Look at some of the games here, Mark, that are underway. You mentioned DePaul leading by 4 now at Providence, 67-63, 3.5 left. You can get Providence plus 230. I mean, are they really going to lose to DePaul? I know Providence isn't, without their best player. He got hurt a few weeks back. They're not the same team, but man, DePaul's just awful. Now it's plus 330, which makes me think they're probably down 6 right now.
I originally looked at the over in this game at 144.5. Looks like they're going to get there. They're at 130 right now with 3:18 left. But, the point was these are two bad defenses, and Providence is showing that right now because, again, they had a 10-point lead at halftime, and they've already given up 39 to DePaul in the second half of this game here, and there's still 3:18 left. So, I mean, neither one of these teams are going to the tournament, so it doesn't really matter from that standpoint. But just kind of shocking to see Providence fall apart like that.
Yeah. Michigan might be going.
College hanging with Clemson at this point in time.
Yeah. Clemson's been on a big-time roll, too. And BC is just god-awful. I saw that score. I was waiting for that. Yeah. You still got to lay 12.5, which is still too pricey for me. But 58-51 with 14.5 minutes left. I'm just surprised BC's got 51 points. I mean, you're 5 minutes into the second half. That's a lot of points
given the pace that Clemson plays with, which is really slow.
Yeah.
They had a 49-point first half. That's really unlike Clemson. They're not like a very high-scoring first-half team. They only average about 36 points in the first half. But the fact they put up 49 tells you how bad Boston College defense was. And then you kind of think it was over just because Clemson would grind the pace down. But obviously Boston College is making some shots here to start the second half. And, by the way, let me ask you, we were talking about this in the break. What the hell happened to the Michigan Wolverines? They have fallen off the wheels have fallen off the wagon for Michigan. They're down by 5 now at home. But, this is a team that, just kind of that Michigan State loss was kind of eye-opening. I was on Michigan in that game at home. But, even go back, look at the amount of flirting they have done with losses this year. They beat Northwestern going all the way back, right? You go all the way back to the beginning of the year, beginning of Big Ten play, I should say. And you start with the Northwestern game at home. They win by 4 there. They get blown out at Purdue. They win by 4 against a bad Penn State team. Win by 3 against a bad Rutgers team. Win by 4 against Oregon. Win by 3 against Indiana. Win by 2 against Purdue. Win by 3 against Ohio State. And then get blown out. Then they only win by Michigan State. Then they only win by 3 against Nebraska and only win by 2 against Rutgers and then get blown out at Illinois. I mean, this is a team I think that you look at fade in the first round of the tournament, right? Because they're probably going to be playing some scrub team and they're going to be laying a number and there's no way you can back them. They are probably nowhere near as good as the 18th team in the country right now. Just don't see it.
Right. Yeah, they're a product of this guy. It's a lot of close losses against a lot of mediocre teams.
Wins. That's the other part. Yeah, I mean, if you want just out of curiosity here, you look at the luck factor that KenPom measures. Michigan is up there just because again they are a team that when you win that many close games, it's really really hard to do that through 6 games in March. They are, let me see what their luck rating is, 44th in the country. So out of 364 teams, their luck is pretty high, all things considered.
I wonder how do they measure your luck? Like baskets that go in at the buzzer?
It's just kind of the amount of close games that you win, right? The variance in close games has a big part to do with what your luck factor is because, again, you're talking about one shot being the difference from the other team in winning and losing. I mean, it's that simple. So when you play a lot of these one-possession games like Michigan has that all go your way, it's the same thing in the NFL, right? Look at the one-score.
Right.
Vikings is a perfect example. All the one-score games that they won, or the Kansas City Chiefs, all the one-score games that they won, eventually that variance has to regress to the mean, and that means that you're not going to win all those close games. So there's that.
Yeah. That's why I like. I think the Commanders are going to come back with their last 5 wins, 6 wins, all come at the buzzer. That's you don't get that.
They're going to be priced as a 10.5, 11.5 win team, and I don't know that they're that good yet.
Yeah, and they go from a last place schedule to a second place schedule, which is a big difference as well. So, but yeah, I bet into Michigan tonight. Laying only 2.5 at home against Maryland. I mean, how can't you, right?
DePaul is now up by 8 with 2:47 left. My God.
Wow. That's pathetic. That's
bad.
I'll tell you, the other team you could throw a little cold water at, too, is Pittsburgh tonight. I mean, you're a bubble team. You can't lose to North Carolina State, albeit on the road. NC State is awful. And they're down
NC
11,
State's
46-35.
wins this year have come at home, and Pittsburgh has been a bad road team, a very bad road team.
That's not changing tonight. Boy.
No.
I didn't play them, but it was I think they were laying 2.5. I said, boy, that they're not going to lose, are they? And I just kind of veered away, and I'm glad I did.
Very, very odd number for NC State only be catching 2.5 points, right?
Right.
Like I'd have to go back and look at it real quick. Let me see if I can figure it out here. But the last time NC State was catching just 2.5 from somebody, I'll pull it up here in a second. Just let me find the game here. Was probably not anytime relatively soon. Let's see. NC State. The last time they were a 2.5 point dog was at Cal. Right? I mean, 10.5 to UNC, 7.5 to Louisville, 5 to Clemson. These were all home games too, by the way, that they were catching. So, it stands to reason that for a number like this, kind of scream like something's fishy is up.
Yep. And lo and behold, there you go.
Yep.
Florida 57-55 over Alabama, so the points are coming there. Michigan's down now 7 with 12 seconds left. That bowl game is over. Can't believe it. DePaul by 7 over Providence with a minute 44 left. The hits keep on coming there. Man,
although I'll jinx it now. Why not? K-State actually has a lead right now, 36-35 with 11:53 left. So, yeah.
Ooh. All right. You're looking good, but it's going to be a rare one because I'm looking pretty good with the under. It's 113.5, and you're looking pretty good with Kansas State. That can't continue. That's not allowed. SGP coming up next.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
NHL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Philadelphia 76ers, they tried to play two different things. They tried to play contender, and they tried to play protect Joel Embiid. It wasn't doing Joel Embiid any good. And this goes back to what I've talked about numerous times on this network. Why did they let him play in the first place? Why was he on the Olympic team? I mean, we looked at it last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. The damn kid was on one leg.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back. In-game live, game day on the grid. Hour number 1, 24 past the hour. You know what time it is? Little SGP same game parlay time. All right, let's go to the hardwood NBA style. Going to go to that Memphis OKC game that Mark and I talked about a little while ago. We got a 4-5 leg piece that's going to pay almost 7-1. Not bad. We're going to start with OKC. Can't possibly put American money on Memphis. 2-6 their last 8. Won't lay the 9.5. We talked about that. That's just too big. So let's just take OKC to win the game and not worry about the point spread, minus 350. Going to go over 250.5. Why? Just because, well, you got to put one of the two in, and I'll accept if it goes under just because it's such a crazy number. If I take the under and it goes over, I'll be kicking myself saying it's 250.5. Let's be on the right side of that. Because it's 250, we're going to get a ton of points, I think, from all the big boys. Gilchrist Alexander, let's go over 32.5 points. Ja Morant, let's go over 23.5 points. Those are just no-brainers to me in a game that's supposed to have 250 points. And then we'll go Zach Edey, 6 rebounds, minus 650. He gets that in his sleep just to punch the ticket up a little bit higher than what it would have been. So add it all up, pays almost 7-1 plus 689. What do you think, Mark?
I mean, you're involved in a great game with a lot of overs that is expecting a lot of scoring. So, I mean, it isn't wrong. The logic isn't wrong. So, yeah, the minus 350 on OKC is just, that's it's crazy that they're a 9-point favorite to me. That's the part I'm still kind of stunned at. But I can't trust Memphis's defense at this point.
On the road, no less. What would they be at home? 14, 13, 14? Mm-hmm. Memphis is supposed to be the 4th best team in the Western Conference, but again, they're not playing well. So that's why I didn't trust laying the 9.5, but I definitely didn't trust taking the 9.5 with Memphis. That's for sure. So yeah, I kind of like that. I think we're gonna get there. I think we'll have a decent shot. The 250.5 is the one I'm gonna have to sweat out, but that's. You got to put those stuff that stuff in order to boost the parlay up. If you just keep on putting player props, it doesn't go up as much. So, hopefully it cashes a ticket. Celtics by 16, 76-60. That's okay. We just need some points. 8.5 minutes left. Over/under is up to 235.5. So no defense in that one. Did like the over. Cleveland is actually only up 4 at halftime against Miami. Still laying 10.5.
I mean, it's crazy. I was asked about that game earlier on In-Game Live. On Game Time Decisions. Biggest problem with Miami is, you just never know which offense is going to show up. There's an offense that scored 86 points against the Hawks, a bad defense, that only scored, 105, whatever it was, against a bad Hornets team. And then nights they can put up 120. You just don't know which offense is going to show up. And if you get the bad offense, guess what? You're dead in the water. There's no movement whatsoever. It's just a really hard team to figure out night in and night out, especially when tonight they didn't have Tyler Hero, right? By the way, quick update. Boston College is within 2 of Clemson with 10:41 left. Wow.
What's Clemson laying now? Is it worth hopping on now?
Live. I mean, that
4 or 5.5.
Got to be laying. I would probably even say more. I'd say 6 or 7, to be honest with you. I remember this was a 13-point spread, when the game started. So let me pull it up here. Give me 1 second. Find this game. Where is it? Boston College, Clemson. I'm saying Clemson minus 6.5. Yeah, I told you it was not going to be any. If you had 4 or 5, I would have jumped on that. 6.5 at this point. It could really still happen. I mean, Clemson can go on a run here and pull away. It's actually, I don't think it's a terrible bet to take Clemson minus 6.5. I'd love
to
just
that
get
against Virginia. Their last game. The same exact thing happened, and they just killed them second half on Saturday. So
yeah,
that might not be. Providence cuts it to 3, 76-71, 21 seconds left. First game without Kyrie Irving. I don't know how you. I love betting against the grain. I really do.
Such an overreaction line.
They are down 9, 31-22, getting 13.5. I just got a funny feeling Dallas covers tonight. I do.
Listen, it would be Dallas or pass. I'm not.
Right.
The Bucks defense has been inconsistent this year, right? But not only that, again, you're paying an extra premium here with no Kyrie, no AD. Obviously, Luke is gone. You're going to be paying a big number to back Milwaukee. And again, they can pull up late when they're up by 15 and a couple of cheap buckets.
Yeah. Colby Dan, College Hoops Talk coming up next.
Brady Kachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Kachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Kachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
NHL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Philadelphia 76ers, they tried to play two different things. They tried to play contender, and they tried to play protect Joel Embiid. It wasn't doing Joel Embiid any good. This goes back to what I've talked about numerous times on this network. Why did they let him play in the first place? Why was he on the Olympic team? I mean, we looked at it last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. The damn kid was on one leg.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in Game Live, Game Day on the Grid. Scott Wetzel, Mark Zinno until 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Got a full slate of action tonight, including college basketball. A great night of college basketball, especially in the SEC. Big East battles. Let's bring in our good buddy, Colby Dan. Check out his podcast, the College Experience Podcast. Colby, Scott, and Mark, what's going on, my friend? Let's start with a little college hoops games that are going on, if we can, including the Big E, Florida, Alabama. I see Florida up 4, 60-56, 11.5 left. Your thoughts on that game going in and now?
Hold on. It's ballooned up. Florida has a 10-point lead with 9.5.
Really? Yeah. FanDuel slow at the buzzer.
And I am trying to feverishly bet Alabama here to get back in this thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty yeah, I went with the Gators. I didn't really necessarily have them up 10 with 9 minutes left, but I thought the Gators were the right side of it with Auburn on deck. Obviously, huge rivalry game. And then to me, Alabama just is not an elite defensive team. And to me, Florida all year has looked like a real national championship contender. They got multiple guys that can. I just thought it was a kind of a bad matchup in that regard. So I went with the Gators, but yeah, I didn't think they'd be up by 10 right now, but there we go.
Yeah, crazy to see here. I just, the way this game is unfolding, I still think Bama has a run left in them. It's been crazy runs back and forth in this game. Bama was up by 5, then they were down by 5, now they're down by 10. Real quick, Clemson in a dogfight with Boston College here. Dear Lord, nobody expected that coming.
Oh, I expected that. I was on Boston College. I
really
this is a great angle. Every being from South Carolina, the Boston College head coach, they always give them a hard time. They beat them last year, almost for a second. It looked like they were gonna, potentially could be a loss that could really penalize them in the NCAA tournament a year ago. BC, I took the points just because Chestnut Hill is a sleepy environment. I have interviewed countless players before, football, basketball, and I always say, what's an environment that you just never look forward to? And I feel like the most common one is Boston College. They're like, and I've even had players tell me before, sometimes you forget they're in the conference. So I just feel like it's one of those ones where you're just kind of lazily going through it. And specifically for some reason, Earl Grant and BC kind of play them tough.
Interesting. All right. I have to make note of that for next year. How about Wisconsin tipping off shortly against Minnesota? Whiskey, one of the better spread teams in college basketball. 18-10-1 against the spread. They're on the road. They're coming off a straight-up loss. Where are we going with this one?
Yeah, I love Wisconsin here. I like fading, teams that hit a buzzer beater to win the game. But also this is a rivalry game. And for whatever reason, Minnesota at the barn, they haven't been great over the past 10 games. But Wisconsin just shot horrible the other night against Michigan State and Tom Izzo. I think they'll turn the corner and go back to what they were doing previously. Another thing is they're still in the mix with Michigan losing tonight, with Michigan State playing at Iowa tomorrow. And then, they take on Michigan again. They're still in the mix seeding wise to get a decent spot there. So they got every reason to play. So I like Wisconsin in the rivalry game, and really just in general, the way that they played all year. Throw out that Michigan State game. They've just been, this is like the best Wisconsin team in like 5 or 6 years. All right. You look at them, they're a top 100 team in field goal percentage. The way they've been playing defense is at a really good level for the Badgers. They're 109th in defensive rating, 21st in offensive rating. I like the Badgers to win by double digits tonight.
I stared at that game all morning long and wanted to fire on Wisconsin for the exact same reasons. Coming off a bad loss where they shot poorly, Minnesota off a buzzer beater on the road. They're back home. What took me off of it, last 5 meetings between these two teams, all in Minnesota, have either been decided by 4 points or less or a Minnesota outright win. And it's just one of these ugly spots for them to get into, and I couldn't get there. There's no reason to believe Wisconsin shouldn't cover this game. What I would probably do, Colby, to be honest with you, I would play Wisconsin in the first half, right? Because my theory is, look, if they ain't covering early, they ain't covering late. If they're in for a fight for 40 minutes, they're going to be in for a fight for the first 20 minutes. Could they pull away feasibly? Yes, absolutely, because they're such a good shooting team. But I'd rather lay the shorter number in the first half, hope that they boat race them early and try to take them out of the game here, than try to survive 40 minutes on the road, laying 7.5, 3 possessions in a game that just it kind of got me off it. So that was just my angle on that game. Thoughts?
No, I mean, that makes sense too. It's a wise angle to play there. I will say this though, the Wisconsin teams over the past couple of years that would, make that stat true, lacked offensive creators. I think
not as good as this one.
Yeah, I think this is the best offensive team they've had in a while, since they had that deep run to the national championship against Duke. But yeah, I mean, look, it still makes sense though. And this is a rivalry game. So I mean, most times I feel like you ask me a question on a rivalry game, more times than not, I like taking the points. Just not here with the spot and potentially the Big Ten championship still out there.
Strange line to me anyway. Loyola Chicago laying only 5.5 at home against Davidson.
Unbelievably strange line. Yeah,
right.
Look, I mean, I'm loading up on Loyola Chicago. I was taken back by this line last night when I did my show. I was also taken back by the fact it didn't move at all. And you look at Loyola; they're 15-1 at home. They're playing for the 3 seed. This isn't them phoning it in. You lose this game, you could get the 6 seed, 7 seed. So, I mean, they have every reason to win this game. Davidson's been terrible on the road. Loyola just beat them by 8 in Davidson, North Carolina. I really struggle. Like, I set this at 9 points, 8.5, 9.5, something like that. I was shocked, 5.5, shocked there's no movement on it. However, I'm going to go into it just because I just don't believe Davidson has any athletes. This is not one of the old Bob McKillop teams. All right. This is a team that really has struggled all year, and they've been terrible on the road. I'm laying the 5.5. Loyola's crowds, their home edge has been great, really since Porter Moser was there. And there's a reason why they're 15-1 at home. They've drilled a lot of these teams. So I'm laying it. I know the number is very phony, but yeah, going in.
I am with you on USC tonight. I laid 7.5 with them. My general theory is just simply this, right? Like, Washington has nothing to play for. They're not going in the Big Ten tournament. They're in dead last in the conference. USC needs a win to get into the Big Ten tournament. They've lost 5 straight. If these slobs can't come out and play with some level of emotion and some level of just desire to go out and actually win a damn game, then you know what? Shame on them. Shame on the entire program. Fold it up. Get out of the Big Ten. Try to go back to the Mountain West or whatever it is, because you don't belong here. This is a bad Washington defense. They can't stop the 3. USC shoots better than 37% from 3 at home. They should boat race this team and mollywop them in the first 20 minutes and for a full 40 minutes. Thoughts?
Yeah, look, you said, my angle was they need a reason to get in this thing. Both coaches are in their opening seasons at their schools, Danny Sprinkle and Eric Musselman. But Musselman, man, it's been a tough year for a guy that was so active in the portal. Normally, you go back to, his other stops, they were able to turn that corner mid-season. It hasn't happened here. They did drill Washington, though, back in December by 24. My logic is they need the win to get in the mix. You don't want to get embarrassed and not even make in your first year, not even make the Big Ten tournament. Right. So that was my logic too. But I'll say this: USC's defense has been a mess too. Yes. Both defenses have been absolutely terrible this year. It's really the better offense, the home crowd, and the pressure to me that was all the defense and laying that number.
Notre Dame, Stanford. You actually got an angle on that one.
Yeah, I actually love Notre Dame here. I like taking. When these teams go east, the first game they really struggle. It's the second game you like taking them. So I fade almost every team on the first trip there. I like Notre Dame. I do think Notre Dame's been playing better too, even though the record hasn't showed up. So they're playing better. They take Stanford down.
All right, Colby, you want to talk some more? You got a minute? We'll do some more games.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, more coming up. In-game live on the grid.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
NHL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Philadelphia 76ers, they tried to play 2 different things. They tried to play contender, and they tried to play protect Joel Embiid. It wasn't doing Joel Embiid any good. And this goes back to what I've talked about numerous times on this network. Why did they let him play in the first place? Why was he on the Olympic team? I mean, we looked at it last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. The damn kid was on one leg.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the Grid. Scott and Mark Zinno talking with our good buddy Colby Dan. Check out his podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. His is called the College Experience Podcast. Just running down some of the games here, Colb. Marquette getting 3.5 at UConn. UConn won a couple of weeks ago in Milwaukee. How about this little stat? 0-8 against the spread is Connecticut their last 8 home games. Now, this number is a little bit lower than what most of those numbers are, but still, where you going? UConn laying to 3.5 for Marquette?
Yeah, I'm going to go with UConn here. I think, getting Liam McNeely back was so huge for this team. I know it happened a little while back, but they've been playing a lot better. If you remove that St. John's game from it, I feel like they've been playing a lot better down the stretch. And I think, I heard Hurley talk about this to get, he wants his team laser focused to try to get a 3 or 4 seed in the NCAA tournament and hope that, the previous years can help in that seeding. And Marquette on the other side. And another thing is this is not at the XL Center. This is on campus in stores, which I always like when you get that angle. But
Yes.
Another thing to me is like Marquette's just been all over the place. Like I will say this. Normally you like Shaka as a dog, and he's a dog here, but they have been all over the place. They're not very cohesive. It looked like they had kind of had some issues amongst the other players. Like, I can't say that I'm not in the locker room, but they looked to be kind of all over the place, blaming each other the other day with another loss added to their resume. I'm going to just take UConn in this spot. Hurley gets better as the season goes along each and every year. So give me the Huskies minus the points.
Kind of shocking that the Huskies have in KenPom the 13th best offense and adjusted offensive efficiency in the country. They don't feel like it. Put it that way. They don't feel like a top 20 efficient offense. So the defense is lagging. When you look at Connecticut as far as the tournament is concerned, I know people think they're a long shot, and they probably are to win their 3rd consecutive NCAA championship, but how would you grade them out as a tournament team?
Yeah, no, I still think they're a team. I mean, they're just not nearly as good, like as far as actual talent, which is okay. You're younger. You kind of whiffed in the portal, bringing in a couple guys. And I still think they could win a game or two, but I also think they could lose in the opening round. Depends on who they draw. If they get that treatment though, because you see sometimes the Blue Bloods, they'll get a nice draw. They're still playing their best ball of the season right now, in my opinion. So that could get you alone to the Sweet 16. But I don't take them as a serious contender for the Final Four or the national championship this year. They just don't have enough guys to me compared to the previous 2 years.
Louisville laying a big number, 2 touchdowns nearly, 13.5 at home against Cal. Over under 154.5. Went up a tick from the 153.5. I actually like the under, but your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I know I just said I don't like taking the teams on the first end of this, but this is one Louisville just to me, I've faded them the past couple of games, I feel like, with these big numbers, and it's treated me okay. They're number 14 in the nation. Don't get me wrong, they considering how bad they were over the past couple of years, Pat Kelsey's walked in and done a great job. But I just think they're getting a little bit more love than they should. 14.5 is a big number for a Cal team that is, it's not a good team, but it's decent. It's decent. To me, I think they can stay in this mix. You saw Cal, they went out and took down Wake at Wake. So they've been doing these trips back and forth there a little bit. I think they can stay within that number. I don't think they're live to win the game or anything. I think Louisville wins by 9, 10, 11, something like that. But give me the Golden Bears to stay within that number.
Also, as well, you mentioned Lindenwood. I'm looking here on your card. It's also Notre Dame tonight, the Fighting Irish in the ACC.
Yeah. I mean, Notre Dame against Stanford. Just I like Shrewsbury in the spot. They have been playing better ever since he had that press conference. Where he threw the microphone down. Yeah. I think they had a hiccup the first game after that, but after that, it was like they've been playing a lot better. That doesn't mean they've been winning all the games, but they've just been a lot more competitive, and Stanford's on the first end of that trip. And I think the line is even telling you to take Notre Dame because Stanford's been so much better this season than Notre Dame. But I'm going to take Micah Shrewsbury at home. Another thing is, it's senior night there. That's an angle that we should talk about. Senior night, you like jumping on some of these teams because it's senior night, and another thing with both those angles, I know I'm on Cal with the points against Louisville, but they don't have these teams weren't playing each other. I know Stanford and Notre Dame playing football, not in basketball. So you have these kind of like a lot of times, like we talked about Boston College and Clemson. Boston College has a knack for keeping it close with Clemson, but they play each other every year. So you have this familiarity, whether program-wise. Oh, he likes to do the high screen and roll stuff there. He likes to do this. They don't have that here. So that's kind of my angle on liking both of those dogs in that spot there. So, and then for the Lindenwood play, Lindenwood's a team that obviously jumped up. They're playing with house money. They can't go to the NCAA tournament. They jumped up from D2. And this is their best season. This is their third and final season waiting to go to the NCAA tournament. But they've won, I think, 6 of the last 8. They're coming on hot. Meanwhile, Morehead State's been a complete disappointment. 2-8 in their last 10 games. I think Lindenwood gets them here. I mean, you go back, Lindenwood beat them by 13 just 2 or 3 weeks ago. I think they're the better team right now.
It's why we have you on when you could pick Lindenwood versus Morehead State, not even for the championship, which would be a first-round game, no less.
I promise you it's not a prison. That's not a prison that's playing in that game.
Sounds like it.
You know it's in trouble when your producer can't spell the name of the school when we hit those depths of despair. So, all right, Lindenwood it is. Boy, you call up your local Louis the Lip a few years back and say, "Give me what do you got on Lindenwood and Morehead State, Colby?" And you'll hear a click. It'll be like, "What?" I mean, that's too good. All right,
Boston College still hanging in, guys. Down by 5 with 3:13 left.
Let's go.
Yeah,
Let's go.
I'm more impressed with Boston College or Florida, which is up double digits still. Colby, wow, they're going to win this game at Alabama. Right.
They're going to get a 1 seed. They're going to get a 1 seed now.
Yeah. Check out Sports Gambling Podcast Network, his podcast, the College Experience Podcast. Colby, yeah, great job, Colby, as always. We'll talk again soon.
Appreciate it.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
NHL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Philadelphia 76ers, they tried to play 2 different things. They tried to play contender, and they tried to play protect Joel Embiid. It wasn't doing Joel Embiid any good. And this goes back to what I've talked about numerous times on this network. Why did they let him play in the first place? Why was he on the Olympic team? I mean, we looked at it last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. The damn kid was on one leg.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day on the Grid. Hour number one. Again, thanks to Kobe Dan for joining us, as he does all the time here on the Grid. Final segment of hour number one. You know what time it is. Time for our red hot black cloud, if we could say that's play of the day. All right, we're going to use a game. We don't generally do this, but every once in a while we have to. We're going to use a game that's already underway. I do like this a lot. We're going to start with the play for tonight. Then we'll get to the action that we had yesterday and the day before, because we have been on fire. It's a beautiful thing. As far as tonight is concerned, let's go over team total Missouri. I thought about the game itself, but I was going to go, you know what? I don't want to risk Oklahoma, which is just god-awful. Just laying an egg. So let's go with the team total. Says 82.5. That was before the game, but obviously we're just heading it to you now. You're buying yourself 2 points. They have 37 points at the half. It's down to 80.5. So over 80.5. Why that? How about Missouri has scored 80 or more points in 9 of their last 10 games? How about Oklahoma has given up 80 or more points in 8 of their last 9 games? 3 of the last 4 have been like in the 160s for Oklahoma games. So they're doing their part. They got 50 points. Love the over. I think we're going to get a ton of points second half. The fact that they only 37 doesn't scare me, because they are actually trailing. So they got to pick up the pace. Love over 80.5 Missouri team total. Now we've been on fire, Mark. Yesterday we got a little lucky. We hit with the over BYU, Iowa State, cha-ching, cha-ching. That game had literally 2 points after 5.5 minutes. 2 points, and it still ended up going over thanks to double overtime, although really went over in the first overtime. So then we hit on Monday with over Prairie View, Jackson State. And then we went 4-1 over last week. So we're at a nice little 6-1, at least anyway, 6-1 roll with our Black Cloud play of the day. So I really do like the over Missouri tonight. I think they hit their number. I think they turn it out a little bit second half. And I think they're actually a pretty good play down 13 right now to really a bad Oklahoma team.
Yeah, again, I mean, it's one of those spots that it was hard to play on Missouri on the road. I mean, Oklahoma is still not a terrible shooting team, right? They certainly can score.
Oh, they can score, yeah.
They're and you see them up 50 to 37 and a half. Just a little bit untrustworthy on the defensive end here. So, I don't hate it at all. Missouri's going to have to score to get back in this thing, so it's setting up nicely for you from that standpoint. By the way, it did go final. K-State actually won the game outright, 54 to 49. So they cover the 8.5, 9.5, every number that was out there. Just an insane number for Cincinnati to be laying 9.5 points. I mean, what world did we get in?
Yeah, crazy. And I see DePaul actually did win too. Over Providence.
They won by 3. 52 points in the second half that Providence gave up at home.
Wow.
Like, just unreal.
To DePaul.
To that offense, right, to that offense.
Yeah. I mean.
So.
You scratch your head sometimes.
Yeah, I know. We have Bama feverishly trying to crawl back into this thing here, Scott. It's now 87-80 in favor of Florida. Now, I didn't tell you this, but let's sweat this out. I played Bama plus 8.5 live.
Ooh.
So.
Okay. My under is shot at 178.5. I expected Florida somewhere along the line to take the air out of the ball, and they didn't. They just said, you know what, we're going to run and gun with you. They could win games in the 50s and 60s, and they could win games clearly in the 80s and 90s. And I just, like I said, I just figured some up 10, up 12, most of the second half. I thought somewhere they would slow it down, but nope.
I mean, we got about 90 seconds left here. I need a Florida miss, and then a Bama bucket would put us in a veritable free throw situation here. But Bama can chuck up and make threes. So it looks like Florida missed and got the rebound. I'm waiting to see how it's all playing. I'm trying to catch live but we're down to about 70 seconds left in the game.
Yeah, it's not the worst thing in the world, especially if they get a fresh. No, I think it's gonna be Alabama ball. I think they got to give it to Bama. All right,
good.
So 87-80, minute and a half left. You got a shot, obviously. You're getting 8.5. You just don't want the foul.
I'd love a 3 from Bama. That would make things a lot easier.
Yeah. All right, we'll check it out when we come back. Hour number 2, some NBA talk. Gilbert McGregor from SportsGrid joins us next.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whoever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
NHL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all. It's
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Philadelphia 76ers, they tried to play two different things. They tried to play contender, and they tried to play protect Joel Embiid. It wasn't doing Joel Embiid any good. This goes back to what I've talked about numerous times on this network. Why did they let him play in the first place? Why was he on the Olympic team? I mean, we looked at it last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. The damn kid was on one leg.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back. It is In-Game Live Game Day, hour number 2 of our 2-hour extravaganza. Scott Wetzel, Mark Zinno until 10 p.m. Eastern Time. We got a little NBA, we got a little college basketball, little NHL. Not that much tonight on Wednesdays. That's the norm. So let's turn our attention to the NBA and some college hoops as we welcome in our second guest of the evening, although it doesn't play second fiddle to anyone. Gilbert McGregor, Sporting News, my old stomping grounds. What's going on, Gilbert? How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. Glad to be back here and glad to talk some sports tonight.
Yeah, crazy game there in Beantown. Huh? We were talking in the break. I mean, I absolutely loved the over in the game. I don't know why that game was so low, but the guys are shooting tonight. That is for sure. That's almost over already, their total. And did we not set a record tonight in that game also?
We got a first. We got Derek White and Peyton Pritchard becoming the first pair of teammates in league history to each hit 9+ 3-pointers. And there's a little bit of time left for those guys to maybe add to that. You would have thought that it might have been something that Steph Curry and Klay Thompson did, or even Steph Curry and Buddy Hield this year. But no, it's a night that Jason Tatum is out resting, and you got Derek White and Peyton Pritchard becoming the new Splash Brothers.
You talk about the Dallas Mavericks and what a season that they've had here so far, and kind of curious your thoughts on what the future holds for them, whether it's Anthony Davis, Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford, all injured, Kyrie Irving, obviously. They're getting a big number tonight, probably overinflated, but what's the future for this team at this point?
Yeah, you said what a season it's been. What a month it's been for them. I feel really bad for their fan base. Do you think that the Luka Doncic trade just kind of stuff off a real ring of bad luck for them. But with the injuries for those guys, and they're not doing well tonight in Milwaukee, but I think that they are probably going to start focusing on the future. Kyrie Irving is already out for the season. Would not be surprised if they decide to just hold Anthony Davis out for his own good and focus on the draft lottery. It's a deep draft this year. They don't have any business competing in the playoffs this year. I don't necessarily think that they will try to do that. They're a play-in tournament team right now. So I think that now and moving forward, we'll see the Mavericks hold guys out and really just kind of focus on, getting as many lottery balls in their favor to try and win the lottery this year.
Gilbert, there's been a couple of articles about how the owners that bought the majority of the team from Mark Cuban from Las Vegas, Las Vegas got a football team. They're going to get a baseball team. They got a hockey team. There's only one missing, and that they purposely sabotaged the team because that's going to skid their way towards Las Vegas that much easier if the fan base is all ticked off. You buying into that, or what have you heard about that?
I'm selling it. I know that Adam Silver has come out a little bit, and he's kind of just shot those claims down. And what I actually think the plan is, whenever LeBron James does decide to retire, a lot of legends have awards named after him. I think LeBron James will get a team awarded to him, and that team will play in Las Vegas. So I think the first thing is LeBron retires, then he becomes the owner of a basketball team in Las Vegas. So as well as he's playing this year, we might be a few more years away from that happening.
Yeah.
Gilbert, when you look at the Pistons, they've been everybody's darlings this year, at least from a betting perspective, because they've covered a whole bunch of numbers. But, how realistic is it for this team? What kind of playoff run can they make this year?
You know what, Mark? I think that they're a year away. I think it's been a great story, especially considering how they were the laughing stock of the league last year, losing 28, 29 games in a row and getting made fun of for trying to give away free chicken that nobody could get because they couldn't win a game. I think they're a great story. I think Cade Cunningham has been just a big leap this year for him, and he's playing the way that we expected him to when he was the first pick 4 years ago. I think that a lot of it will depend on matchups. This is a franchise that has not won a playoff game, not a series. I haven't won a playoff game since 2008. So I think that they will get that drought over with. They'll make an interesting series, maybe push a series to 5 or 6 games, but I think that's their ceiling this season.
You like them tonight against the Clippers?
You know what? It's an interesting one. The Clippers have been up and down. They're coming off. They just gave up a 23-point lead yesterday in Phoenix, so I think that's fresh on their mind. Second end of a back-to-back. Their injury report is pretty long. So I actually do like the Pistons. The Clippers tend to struggle on the second end of a back-to-back, so I'm leaning Detroit tonight.
Yeah, just an interesting spot, though. The Clippers, after a 4-game road trip back home, how do they respond off that spot here? But again, it's like everybody, the Clippers at home getting points feels very appetizing, especially for a young team like Detroit.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, they played in Phoenix last night. It was a gut punch way to lose like that. And I'm sure that they want to bounce back and it's fresh on their minds the way they lost. But again, an older team, they're not going to have their full complement of guys. And Detroit is a team that, like we said, I kind of just disrespected them a little bit in saying that I don't believe they can do much. I think that they wear that chip on their shoulder. Their team has an identity. They play physically and they rally behind their head coach, JB Bickerstaff. So again, like you said, them getting points tonight, I think that's really good.
All right, how about the little college basketball game just tipping off? Tennessee, Ole Miss, 2 ranked teams. Your thoughts on that? I like Tennessee. What about you?
Tennessee, I like Tennessee as well. They're a team that they have some guys who have been there before, experienced guys on that team. Chaz Lanier is a guy who knows what he's there to do, and he goes out there and does it every time he steps on the floor. So, this is the time of the year. We're into March. We're a few days away from conference tournaments getting underway. These teams want to end the regular season on the right note. And for Rick Barnes-led team, I expect them to come out and take care of business. So I like Tennessee too.
Thoughts on UConn? Danny Hurley, after winning back-to-back national titles, obviously having a down year. How do you grade them out for the tournament? What's the viability for this team? And obviously, Danny Hurley's not in danger of losing his job, but nonetheless, it's just one of those things where it's certainly an unexpected year for them.
Absolutely. And that's the nature of the business, right? It is really hard to bounce back, especially when you win 2 in a row. And that's something that we hadn't seen since Florida did it almost 20 years ago. And the fact that UConn was just so dominant during last year's tournament and even the year before, I think they surprised people. I think they were a 4 seed the first time they won. This year, I'll put it out there right now, UConn's probably going to be on that 8-9 line, and that is an 8 or 9 seed that nobody wants to see. This is a team who they've had a tough go. They've played a very tough schedule this year, but I think any given game, they have a chance to win. They're well coached. They have a lot of talent on their team, and they have guys that know how to win in big spots. So I think UConn could be a sneaky team, especially when you start picking your brackets or picking teams to go to the Sweet 16, Elite Eight, Final Four. If the bracket shakes out in their favor, I would not be surprised to see UConn make a run this year.
How impressed are you with Florida? You know, barring something crazy, I get the game on. They're up 30 seconds left, and they're going to the free throw line. So it looks like they're going to get a win at Alabama tonight.
Yeah, not a tough place, not an easy place to go get a win, especially, as good as the SEC has been this year, to go to Tuscaloosa, get a win on the road and take care of business, take advantage of some of the weaknesses or some of the things that Alabama tries to do that they aren't able to do every game. And Florida, at a lot of turns this year, have been very impressive. You think about the way that they've been able to take care of business, and again, a very tough SEC conference. I think it says a lot about them and their readiness. I think they're one of those teams on that short list who I would not be surprised if they're able to cut the nets down at the end of the NCAA tournament, because they do check a lot of the boxes. It's going to be difficult. It does kind of feel wide open, but Florida has as big of a chance as anybody else does for sure.
Talk about a Wisconsin team that's playing tonight in a game against, a much lesser Minnesota team trying to bounce back from a bad loss. But this is a team that on both ends of the floor is just really, really good. And I wonder, how deep they can really make a run, and are they a national title team in your opinion?
National title is tough, but I think the interesting thing about this Wisconsin team is it feels so unlike other Wisconsin teams we've seen in the past. They're a very fun Wisconsin team to watch. So I do think that it's harder to use the past to predict what they can do this year, just because they feel so different from teams in years past.
All right, Gilbert, great job as always. We appreciate a couple minutes with you. Check out all his stuff at the Sporting News, a place I used to work at many, many moons ago when they had a radio network. Now, no more, unfortunately. But they still got the website, sportingnews.com. Gilbert McGregor. Gilbert, great job, man. We'll do it again soon.
Scott, Mark, appreciate you guys.
All right, man, thanks. There you go, Gilbert McGregor. Coming up, back to the board we'll go. You'll get some NBA plays, and take a peek at hockey. We haven't done that in a little bit. And then back to the college basketball board as well.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start, so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the grid. Just taking a peek at the end of the, well, maybe it's not the end. This Alabama-Florida game is taking an hour and a half. It's 2.5 hours.
Taking 25 minutes.
Holy crap. You talk about, forget about the under. That got blown by, because they start fouling. I saw this over the weekend too, Mark. I forget which team it was. But they start fouling with about 2.5, 3 minutes left, and they were down about 10. And the game needed about 30 points for it to go over, and it blew by. They scored like 40 points in the final 3 minutes because it's just silly fouling, and that's what Alabama's been doing. I mean, they had a couple of opportunities to try and press. You got a 10-second count. You do something, but it's just been incessant fouling. And then Florida's saying, you know what, Don't foul anybody. Let them get to 2 points. You put a little matador defense, and each possession is taking literally, 2-3 seconds off the clock. So the final minute's taking about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So 99-94, we said.
I'm still sweating out a plus 8.5 at this point.
Yeah. Oh, we got a foul? No. They called a timeout?
Alabama called a timeout.
Alabama. They're down 99-94 with 1.7 seconds left and the ball, and Nate Oates calls a time. I like Nate Oates, but, man, he's done some funky, weird things these last couple of games. What in the world are you doing calling a timeout with 1.7 seconds left, down 2 possessions?
Because it just, I mean, it's a 5-point game, so in theory, even if they foul for 3, I should be good to cover the 8.5, right?
You're going to get the 8.5. Yeah. I just want the game to get over with so we can move on past it. Just kind of like, give it a final score. Let's just, he must be mad at the officials or something. So that's what I think coaches do that. They're really upset with the officials. They'll call a timeout with a second left there. But the kid was about to take a 3-point shot too, his own kid. So kind of weird.
And he missed it. Had he missed it, the buzzer would have sounded, and that would have been the end of it. So the clock now says 0, at least on a few different websites I'm looking at here, and it is officially over. Yeah. So
99-94, it's over.
All right, we covered. Hey, we got a little in-game live.
Cover the spread. There you go.
See, when they were down by 10, and I was getting 8.5. I'm like, yeah, this feels like a good time. A run maybe coming.
Yeah, they were going to get blown off their own court. I tell you what, that's a really impressive win for Florida, right? I mean,
I mean, if you're looking at futures right now, like, what are your, forget the odds just for a minute. Like, what are your tournament champion? What would your list be as far as futures is concerned?
Right. Duke, in no particular order, right? I think it's the usual. Duke, Auburn, Florida. I don't even count Houston. I've seen too many of their games down the stretch. They're as dumb as a box of rocks when it comes to close basketball. They're going to blow a game because I've seen too many close games where they make it close. They're up 10 and they're fouling with a minute left, or they're turning the ball over because they're throwing it away, or they're taking shots rather than run. I've seen just too much from that Houston team to think they'd actually win it all. So it would be, again, no particular order, Auburn, Florida, Duke. Those would be the 3.
Yeah, I mean, Florida's definitely on my list. Again, I still, there's part of me that still wants to play Wisconsin, just because of their shooting, and their defense, and as far as, kind of where they are. I've said this repeatedly about Michigan State and St. John's. My biggest fear with both of those teams, they're going to play defense every single game, but there's going to be a game where they're trailing and they need to make threes, and neither one of them can do it. And that's really going to be a problem for them. Like, there's going to be a game where offensively they're not making shots early and the other team is, right? Because it's just at some point no matter how good your defense is, some guys can just make shots and they can get hot, and you see how it happens and find themselves, in an early hole, right, where it's like 20-7 early, and they the 2 timeouts didn't work, and now they're just chasing the entire game, and they're out of their game script, and the only way they get back in it is to obviously just grind it and slow the pace down and try and prevent the other team from scoring, but they can get out of it real quick, and I worry how much they're going to be able to overcome that one game that gets in front of their way. That's kind of just how I view those 2 teams. But the
seedings for them, Mark, really, if they get in a bracket where they got Alabama or Tennessee or Auburn, and then they figure to get one of those eventually, but I don't know where they're going to get seeded. But if they get up against a team that could put 80 points on the board, I think they're in trouble because of that. Because those are the teams that can go up, 15, 20 points. And it's going to be hard for either one, St. John's, you're right, or Michigan State to come back and win those games because they're 2 of the worst 3-point shooting teams statistically in college basketball.
I would play Maryland to make the Final Four. I don't know if I would play them to win it. Right? Again, that's another thing where it's just like by the time you get past the Sweet 16, right? You get to an Elite 8 team, and then you get to a first round of a Final Four, and then national. That's 3 elite teams in a row you're going to have to beat. I don't know if Maryland is ready for that yet, but I think they're good enough to get to the Final Four.
Mm-hmm. I would say that maybe with Clemson. If you have that little the tier of like 30-1 to higher, Clemson or Missouri might be that team. One team. I don't know if I mentioned this to you the other day. One team has scored 80 points against Tennessee all year, and that's Missouri. Not Alabama, not Auburn.
That was a game where they
Missouri.
shot like 50% from 3 and like 60% from the field, though.
Right.
And
but they did.
Right.
But
it's
no one else has.
And there's the difference between Tennessee and Michigan State and St. John's, right? Because Tennessee can shoot their way back in that game. Michigan State and St. John's,
they won.
They're going to find an opponent who's going to be that hot early on, and I just don't like that game script for them.
Yeah, but there's just a dangerous team, Missouri. Missouri and Clemson would be the 2 kind of outliers that, okay, maybe, just maybe, someone's going to upset the apple cart somehow, some way. So, but I can't wait. Can't wait for the tournament to begin. Can't wait for the seeding to come out. It's going to be interesting. All right, In-Game Live continues here on the Grid.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
NHL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Philadelphia 76ers, they tried to play 2 different things. They tried to play contender, and they tried to play protect Joel Embiid. It wasn't doing Joel Embiid any good. And this goes back to what I've talked about numerous times on this network. Why did they let him play in the first place? Why was he on the Olympic team? I mean, we looked at it last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. The damn kid was on one leg.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to In-Game Live. Game Day on the Grid. Scott, Mark, Zinno, hour number 2. Take a peek at the NBA. We haven't looked at that here in a little bit. Actually, let me just do the hockey real quickly. Kind of a weird schedule. There's only 2 games starting at the 7 o'clock hour, and then 3 starting at 10 o'clock or later, which was kind of weird. So I did have a little peek at the Blackhawks just because, I don't know why, but Chicago was 11-1. Their last 12 against Ottawa. They do trail 3-2 after 2, getting plus 440. That's not a bad little play. And then the Rangers lead the Capitals after 2-1. Washington plus 265. I think both those teams are actually live dogs. So if you want a little hockey action, that is where I would go. Dallas Mavericks, they're getting crushed. I will say the opposite pick, if you will, opposite public, not working out. 89-65. It might be, the problem mark with them as far as tanking, like Gilbert was talking about, is they got a 4-game lead in the for the last play-in spot. So they really have to lose. And I looked at their schedule. It's not that bad. It's kind of mediocre, pretty easy actually. Phoenix has the most difficult schedule. Portland's kind of in the middle. And then Dallas actually has the easiest schedule. So if they want to get out of that and get into the ping pong ball business, they're going to have to lose almost every single game. I mean, it is going to be really ugly. So get 23.5 right now.
Ugh, gross. Again, you knew this could absolutely be an outcome in this game, right? Like you shouldn't have been surprised that this was an outcome in the game. It's just a matter of, the whole idea of laying that kind of number against them and paying a premium on it when you know you're paying a premium on it isn't really where I wanted to go.
Yeah. How about Denver down 7, 5.5-point favorites, which I thought was suspiciously low. They're down 7 and they're still 5.5-point favorites. What am I missing here? Something's not right.
The Kings aren't very good, and they're likely to blow this. I mean, that's about all you can come up with at this point in time.
I mean, who's not playing for Sacramento? There's got to be people missing from Sacramento tonight, and maybe the line jumped up. But it was 5.5 all day, which I thought was kind of low. It just doesn't make any sense for them to be down. All right, now they're down 5, and still be 5.5-point favorites. That's a little weird. So. OKC line is down to 7 at Memphis. They tip off here in about 15 minutes. Over under 2. Now it's up to 253.5. I think it was 250 before. Wow, that's going higher. How low does it need to go before you bet Memphis or before you bet OKC? 3, 4.
Not watching the game, it's hard to see what the game script looks like.
It's not even started yet. It starts in 15 minutes.
But, it would be one of those things where I'd kind of have to see how the game is unfolding before I could really make that determination. But I get your point. If it gets to a, 4 or 5 point number, then where it cuts in half, you may see some value there.
Let me see what the final score was on the Celtic one. I'm sure they won. But let's see how bad they won. 128-118. The number was right around 9.5. Depending on where you did your shopping, you may have found a 10 somewhere along the line. They end up winning by 10. Pritchard with 43 points. Wow. Game does go over, which is great.
Didn't see that coming at all.
No, not at all. Amazing. So he ends up with 43, and then Derek White ends up with 41. They combined for 80 If I would have told you like two Boston Celtics combined for 84 points tonight, what are the odds of you saying Peyton Pritchard and Derek White? No Jaylen Brown. Now, forget about and Brown played actually, but without knowing who was playing, who wasn't playing, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
One guy, Derek White, shoots 9 of 17 from 3, and Pritchard shoots 10 of 16. How about that?
Crazy.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Celtics win by 10, and they probably cover, but the game does go over. 18 seconds left. Cleveland by 3 over Miami. 110-107.
Again, there's Miami actually scoring and putting up points. Miami approaches that 110 range, they're going to be competitive.
Yeah. All right, in-game live, game day continues on the grid.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whoever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
NHL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Philadelphia 76ers, they tried to play two different things. They tried to play contender, and they tried to play protect Joel Embiid. It wasn't doing Joel Embiid any good. And this goes back to what I've talked about numerous times on this network. Why did they let him play in the first place? Why was he on the Olympic team? I mean, we looked at it last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. The damn kid was on one leg.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to In-Game Live. Game day here on the grid. Scott Marks in another half hour. We got Cam Stewart coming up in about 10 minutes or so. I was looking at one of these goofy websites, and it said Miami tied Cleveland 110 all, which is good because I got the over 221.5, which means, barring something crazy, the game is going to go over. But now I see it's 112-107. So, I don't know what they did or didn't do. Miami misses a shot. I need a foul. Fudge. End of the game. 112-107. Son of a gun. Come on, boys. If you're gonna do the scoreboard, at the end of the game, you gotta be right. You want to make a mistake in the first quarter or the first half, not when there's 15 seconds left. The game goes under by 1.5 points. See, unlike in college basketball, Mark, they don't foul. They just like, all right, we missed a shot. We're down 5. There's 6 seconds left. That's all right. We're going home. Why foul when maybe they make 1 of 2 and now you're down 2 possessions still with 6 seconds left? Why do that? Why try and win? Son of a gun. All right. 112-107. We lose by the
Head shaking, to say the least.
Tell you what, Wizards
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say Wizards beating Utah. I was going to say who in their right mind is going to that basketball game?
Oh, who in their right mind with 5 points with the Washington Wizards is a better question.
Well,
right?
Right.
That's what you had to do in this game here. So that's part number one. But yeah, that game was Wizards are past, which you never say. Period when talking about the NBA. But nonetheless, here I'm wondering about this Texas Tech Colorado game here, hanging right around that closing number of 17 and a half. Just I don't know. Colorado's awful.
I had a little hunch on Colorado.
Yeah, it feels like there's a certain amount of danger with them hanging around this number and it's not starting to open it up. Still a lot of time left with under 8 minutes left, but you got a 15-point game right now, and it's like, okay.
Yeah. Here's why I would take a little flyer on Colorado. What's the point spread? Are they giving you a little extra than the 18.5? What are they giving us?
Let me look here on FanDuel. I'm seeing 16.5 right now.
16.5? All right, that's not too bad. But Texas Tech at home in conference play is only 6-3. So they have lost at home, and more importantly, they have one game in which they've won by 18 points. The line was 17.5 or so. So they've only beaten one team, Mark, by 18 points or more in conference play. So I know Colorado's not any good. I get that, but, they played some bad teams in the Big 12, but they still don't blow them out. They really don't. So that's why I wouldn't put a whole lot on it, but I put a little hunch play on Colorado to keep this semi-close within a 16.5. I would.
Yeah. Oklahoma now widening their gap over Missouri to 16, 66-55, about almost halfway through the second half there. We talked earlier with Colby. Remember I said Wisconsin first half minus the 4. Right. They're up by 6 at halftime, 33-27. See, that's the beauty of that. Now I can get the ladder. I don't care what happens at that point in time,
Yeah.
No stress.
Sometimes, when you lay those big numbers at the end of the game, it's better to just cut it in half, basically, and just do it halftime, right? I mean, yes, you can, kind of flip the script second half and whatever and turn it on. But, yeah, I kind of like that rather than lay like 6.5 or 7.5 for the game. Give me the 3.5 or 4 at halftime. I'm okay with that. Louisville 25-22 over Cal. Speaking of Colby, he said he did like Cal. They're kind of hanging around. Said he liked Notre Dame, 14-10 over Stanford, first half, 6 minutes left. Said he liked Loyola of Chicago, too, and they're leading 27-21 over Davidson, 7.5 minutes left. So
I don't want to tell him I'm on the opposite side. I'm on Morehead State, not Lindenwood. That game just tipped off.
Not Lindenwood? So. Lindenwood?
No, I'm on Morehead State.
You're up 5-2.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how many people bet games get like that. So I think we're all on Tennessee except one of our producers who for some reason doesn't listen to the show or doesn't listen to us, our advice anyway.
Valid reasons.
He's on Ole Miss.
By the way, valid reasons to do both.
Yes,
absolutely.
So. But I did like Tennessee tonight. I think Tennessee's the better team, and they're up 6 early on, 29-23.
I mean,
but
at this point, it's weird when you get to the end of the season like this. Like, I think motivation plays a ton into it.
Yep.
In reality, neither one of these teams is really playing for anything. They're both going to the tournament. Their seeding will be more, decided by what sort of run they make in the SEC tournament. But again, Missouri's a much better team than Oklahoma, and Oklahoma's winning by 17. So it's hard to figure out motivation when you get to the final 2 or 3 games of the year for certain teams and what really matters to them.
Right. I'll say this about Ole Miss. I imagine they're going, but you look at their schedule, Mark, they really haven't beaten that many good teams. They got a few.
Well,
I looked at it this afternoon when I was breaking down the game. Let's take a look at the better teams that they've faced in reverse order. Auburn, loss. Mississippi State, loss. Kentucky win. That's 1. Auburn again, loss. Missouri, loss. Texas A&M, loss. These are all ranked teams. Mississippi State, loss. They did beat Alabama, and it was Alabama on the road, which is going to be huge for them. Memphis, loss. They beat Lindenwood. They did beat Louisville. Got to give them credit for that. So that's 3 wins. Purdue, loss. And they beat BYU, which is halfway decent. So that's 4 and 8.
Georgia's likely going to be a tournament team. They beat them, too, earlier this year, if that matters to you.
Yeah, Georgia stinks, though. I mean, they don't deserve to be a tournament team, Georgia.
Well, there's about 3 or 4 teams in the SEC that don't deserve to make the tournament, but they're going to.
Right, and that's what I mean. And then, it's the recurring thing. What came first, the chicken or the egg? If you put all these teams in, then you could say, all right, well, then you know what? Ole Miss has, 6-7 wins against tournament teams. But if you don't put the bubble teams in from the SEC, the Georgias and the Ole Misses of the world, then you say, well, they only got a couple of wins. So right. You're kind of rewarding yourself. And I just don't think, they're going to get 10, but this notion of getting like 12 or 13, I think is ridiculous. I just don't think they're that good. 4 and 8, we're not talking about Topeka High against the Boston Celtics. If you play 12 good teams and you're just at least halfway decent, you're going to win, Mark, some of those. You're not going to go 0-12. But it's the whole, you're 4 and 8. You're not competitive. You don't deserve to get rewarded for 4 wins because you got 8 losses.
I agree with you. It's ludicrous that one conference is going to get a fifth of the entire tournament, right? Like that's,
yeah. Put that in perspective. You're right.
Going to be a problem. Yeah. So, I don't think it should be that many, but again, the committee will probably reward them for playing in the toughest and deepest conference.
Yeah. That's a pretty good, I didn't think about that, but put that in perspective. The SEC is going to get about 1/5 of all the teams in the NCAA tournament. And when you have 364 college basketball teams, that's crazy. That shouldn't be.
No argument for me.
Yeah. That's what it'll end up being. You're going to get some decent teams from other conferences that are going to get screwed.
And again, here's the other part too. You're going to deal with, people down here in Georgia are already counting them in the tournament. I said you might want to wait and see how many bids are stolen before you start celebrating, because there's probably going to be 2 or 3. And if you're in the last 4 in, they may end up getting pushed out.
Yeah. All right, let's get some thoughts from Cam Stewart when we come back. In-game live, game day on the grid.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
NHL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Philadelphia 76ers, they tried to play 2 different things. They tried to play contender, and they tried to play protect Joel Embiid. It wasn't doing Joel Embiid any good. And this goes back to what I've talked about numerous times on this network. Why did they let him play in the first place? Why was he on the Olympic team? I mean, we looked at it last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. The damn kid was on one leg.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day on the Grid. Scott, Mark, Zinno until 10 p.m. Eastern Time. That'll be Gabe Morency and our next guest, Mr. Cam Stewart, who graciously blesses us with his presence every single night.
Blesses you,
because he
Wetzel.
brings nothing but winners. Yes.
No,
Well, it's
look,
Ash Wednesday. It's Ash Wednesday, so we gotta get in the mood here.
There's
So
some losers.
bless us, Cam.
We had winners last night, but we had some losers sprinkled in. Didn't we say, hey, Pelican, open up your beak and give us like a roll of money? Well, yeah, rocks. That's what we got betting on New Orleans against the Lakers. But Phoenix did come back, Scott.
Yeah.
So we had more winners than losers. But yeah, it's going to be good. We talked about hockey right now, Scott, and it was unbelievable to me. And hey, Mark, how you doing? I guess Sherapan still loving life with the softball daughters, right? This guy's, what's Dave doing?
Yeah.
Soaking up the sun? I'll say this, Scott. So Ottawa takes a 1-0 lead, and you're going, okay. Then they offer Chicago at +2.5. Like, it's funny. Gabe and I talk about this all the time, the way the books kind of look at hockey like soccer. It's very different. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
even 40 cents, like, you don't mind paying juice. Like, now they got to win by 3 goals in the game. The Rangers are down 1. You're getting them +1.5 minus like 140, and you're getting a crazy money line when, there's like basically like a very small favorite. I don't understand it, but hey, we'll keep on betting it, Scott. We talked about this time of year. And Mark, these underdogs in hockey are absolutely fantastic. I'll give these to you now. I don't know how you feel before we get into the golf with the Arnold Palmer. Great tournament this week. I like the Leafs +135 against Vegas, coming off that loss against the Sharks in a shootout. The Sharks, that was their first shootout win all year. Also over 5.5 in Anaheim, Vancouver. Basically, Anaheim's playing great hockey right now with their young guys. I think we can get some goals in that game. And I'm actually looking for the Kings to score first, Scott. And then if we can get the Blues at +2.5, I'll click. But LA's been lethal at home. So the Leafs are a nice pooch for me tonight and over 5.5. But big golf tournament this week, guys. The Arnold Palmer Invitational from Bay Hill. Watching Golf Channel, I know Smiley Kaufman was on the network, and he was basically saying, man, this rough is tough. And we got elevated event. All the big boys are here. We're going to start things off, Scott. You can't take Scotty Scheffler at +350. Maybe we can get him live, but he has gone back-to-back. The guy's an animal. So we'll start off with Patrick Cantlay at 25-1. Top 10 machine in this tournament. Hopefully, we can get some wins at a nicer price. Hideki Matsuyama, I don't understand. This guy won the Masters, and they treat him like he's some kind of like mid-tier player. He's an above-average player, and he does really, really well playing in Florida golf. He does well in Georgia at Augusta, 28-1. Shane Lowry, the Irish Bear, 40-1 is an incredible price, and we're getting great prices because Scotty Scheffler's back. Justin Thomas is back. Xander Schauffele makes his debut, guys, too, after the injury. This is his first tournament this year. Ben Griffin has been a top 5 machine, 75-1. Fitzpatrick at 90. He's won a U.S. Open before. And Ryan Ginger or Rye Bread, depending on your choice. Aaron Rye, 95-1. Top 10s. Ludwig Aberg, Keith Stewart on the network, loves this guy to win. I don't like 15-1. Golf guys are greedy, Scott. We always look for more. We should just take a good price, but top 10 +120 and Thomas +190. A couple guys I like for the top 20 market. Clark +130. Burger Time, who almost won last week, +130. Georgia Bulldog for Zinno. Sepp Straka, 11th last week, +130 for a top 20. And another Georgia Bulldog, Brian Harmon, +190. First round leaders, Ludwig Aberg, the very, very talented Swede at 22-1. Wyndham Clark hits it a mile, 45-1. Ash K. Batea, 50. The Spawn, man, 55-1. JJ Spuds, Gracerman, 66-1. And Brian Harmon, a notorious fast starter, 66-1. Those are my picks for the Arnold Palmer. Sorry, Scott, we almost had Russell Henley last week, but what are you going to do with golf? What are we going to do with these guys? All the guys who are supposed to win, they're fading on Sunday. And these no-namers, we have a 300-1 and a 125-1. That's not happening this week because Scheffler's there. All the big boys are here. So will say, like, can you believe these guys? Like, it's unbelievable to me. Brady Cannon, who's coming up, by the way, with Morency on Sports Rage off the hop, he told us there's been no tickets when Campbell won, no tickets. And this guy last week, Joe Highsmith, the only one who thought he could win was his mom. Like, you know what I mean? And she was literally at the air coming back. She put on her like dress clothes because you go, oh my God, my son's in contention. She went from her airplane like jogging pants, dressed up, and what do you know? Her son gets it done and wins 125-1. Crazy stuff on the lakes.
Wow. How about so they're giving us the 275.5, which if my math is correct, that's 14 under par. Will the winning score with all these good names, all the big boys are there? You would now it's a little juiced on FanDuel minus 165, but are they not going to have a winning score of 14? No, to the over.
I like under.
To the under. I like under.
I like under.
Yeah,
just
right.
from what I've seen at Golf Channel and looking at the conditions are good, but this is an elevated tournament. They don't want to be embarrassed. This isn't like guys who go shoot like minus 26. It's not cool. The King, Arnold Palmer, he doesn't want to see that like some guy shoot that kind of number. You have to earn it. This plays more like a U.S. Open. Pars are good. I think the winning score is going to be probably between 8 and 12 under. I think 14 is a little bit too much, Scott. I would take the under. Yes, I think the winning score will be around the 9 and 10. I think it's too much. I would lay the juice with the under.
So you go with the over then?
Oh, sorry. No, I mean under, like not over. Like what's the 14 and a half? Right.
14 under par. You think it's going to be less?
Yes.
So the bet, at least on FanDuel, is over 275.5 shots at plus 110. All right, so you don't think it's going to be 14 or par or better? It's going to be less than that.
I do not.
Interesting.
I do not at all.
Okay.
I'd go under big time.
Right.
Anything else we got tonight, guys? Late night basketball? Any degenerate specials?
USC.
Little NBA?
Oh, you like USC against Washington, Zinno?
Listen, if that team doesn't come out and mollywop this bad Washington team, I'm going to get on a plane. I'm going to stuff Eric Musselman in the pocket.
You're gonna exactly. My grandfather went to Washington, so I got a soft spot in my heart for the Huskies. It's it's interesting. My cousin went to Washington State, and my grandfather went to Washington. We got some ties there, but I don't know. I don't feel comfortable laying it down with USC, Mark. I don't know. They've just been very disappointing. Sometimes those Pac-12 dogs look juicy, but you're right. If anybody's going to show up, they got it tonight.
They need to win the game to actually get in the big tournament.
They do. They do.
Yes. So
how about Tennessee Ole Miss? 2.5, basically the number it was to start the game. Tennessee's lead by a couple.
I'd take Tennessee, but that sounds like a trap, Scott. Don't you think? They were down in their other game over the weekend, hit a 3 to win, but
right.
Yeah, I'm sticking to the ice tonight, Scotty. It's working for me. I'm going to stay cold. Rigid.
Let's go Blackhawks. Blackhawks. Cam, top of the hour.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
NHL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Philadelphia 76ers is they tried to play two different things. They tried to play contender, and they tried to play protect, control, and beat. It wasn't doing Joel Embiid any good. And this goes back to what I've talked about numerous times on this network. Why did they let him play in the first place? Why was he on the Olympic team? I mean, we looked at it last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. The damn kid was on one leg.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the grid. Again, thanks to Cam Stewart, who takes over along with Gabe. Top of the hour. They'll talk a little pucks here. They got the 3 games starting in a couple of moments. I will update one. He did it again. I tell you what, Ovechkin scores again. Dude's got 32 goals. He's 9,000 years old, and he missed a month of the season. And he is scoring like he's 25. Amazing. So Capitals tie up the Rangers, just like Cam and I and Mark were talking about how, these crazy dogs in hockey, plus to 250 or so they were, albeit with 9-10 minutes left. But you know what? We've seen so many comebacks. Same thing with Chicago. So we got Blackhawks, Senators tied at 3, and we got the Rangers and Capitals now tied at 2. NBA, we got the first of the last 2 games underway. Grizzlies, they were leading, but now 9-8. Okay, so nothing crazy there. Sacramento, 53-39, Mark, over Denver. I tell you, that 5.5 had written all over it. I don't know why it was so low. I'll double check and make sure all the big boys are playing for Denver. But you can now grab the Nuggets if you want to come back at plus 2.5. They're down 14. Second quarter. Joker's playing.
What are they waiting
so that's the main
thing.
Waiting
for? That's the hard part. Like, it's still the second quarter, but at this point in time, you'd like to see them start to close this gap a little bit.
Right. Kind of weird. They're all playing. Porter, Joker, Westbrook, Murray, Christian Braun. So all the main characters are there. I just, I'm not high on this Denver team this year. I was 2 years ago when they won. I really was last year. But this year, they just seem a little off. Looking for teams who are going to win. I hope it's someone. I pray it's not the Lakers in the West. I really do. But they just don't. They just seem to be just a little off. Really good, 39-22, but they're not great. I don't know if they're waiting, Mark, to turn it on come playoff time. But they're like a second round and out for me, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. They'll get to the first round, but I don't know how much longer they have after that. It's very, very hard to see them being a serious threat to Oklahoma City.
Yeah. Got Milwaukee 126-95 over Dallas. Okay, that one's done. It's not over, but, for all intents and purposes, it is over. So back to the college basketball board here. Marquette leads UConn 37-33 at the half. Not surprised. Not surprised at all. I think they end up winning that game. They're laying 1.5. Grab UConn at home plus 1.5. Not the worst bet in the world. Colorado down 16. All right, we're going to take a little flyer on Colorado. Down 16, 91-75. 10 seconds left, and I think it just ended. Oh, we win by the hook. The boys in Vegas gods give us a little something back.
You got, because that was let me just look here. That was 17.5, somewhere around 18 pre-tip.
Right.
So
the original number, yes.
Yes.
The 16.5 in game, that would be a little dicey. But
yeah.
All right. Our Black Cloud looking, I don't want to jinx it, but we're looking pretty good, right? Over 80.5 Missouri. They're down 78-69. Almost 5 minutes left, 4:47. I would think, and that was the original 82.5. Boys on the podcast got that number. I would think they would get 13 more points, 14 more points, especially down 10. Get a bucket, the fouling game. If I can get that into like the 75 area with like 2 minutes left, even I'd feel confident. So I tell you, they're an offensive machine. They really are. They score. No defense,
I mean, they can shoot
score
pretty well too, as well. I mean, I think you should be trending in the right direction. Here's the problem again with this Wisconsin-Minnesota game. When I talked earlier about it, when you look at these two teams, it's 33-27.5. So far, they've only scored 27 combined points through almost 9 minutes in the second half. And this pace is just slowing right down more and more, and that's favoring the Golden Gophers here in this spot. Yeah, it's dangerous spot. I mean, Wisconsin certainly could pull away because they're a good shooting team, but kind of dangerous.
Yeah, laying 7.5. I thought that would be a little bit higher scoring game, but not the case. Mark, great job as always. Always enjoy working with you. We'll do it again soon, no doubt. Folks, Cam and Gade coming up, top of the hour.